The morphine drip wasn't working anymore. Maya Chen stood in the doorway of the master bedroom, watching the woman who'd hired her 6 weeks ago writhe against silk pillows, her breathing a wet rattle that spoke of days, not weeks. Through the window, the September rain turned the estate's grounds into something from a Gothic painting, all gray stone and weeping willows. Behind Maya, footsteps approached, hard, fast, angry. She didn't turn. She'd learned in her 3 years as a hospice caregiver that some moments demanded you hold your ground, even when every instinct screamed to run, especially when the footsteps belonged to a man who could erase you with a phone call. My mother's lawyer just informed me, Luca Vitale said, his voice blade sharp, that someone's been stealing from her accounts, small amounts, carefully hidden, and you're the only person with access to her room. Maya's hand tightened on the doorframe. Your mother asked me to. I don't care what lies she told you, you're done here. Pay her electric bill, Maya finished quietly, because your sister canceled the auto pay 3 months ago and kept the difference. The silence behind her went nuclear. 6 weeks earlier, the Vitale estate rose from Connecticut's hill country like a Renaissance fortress transplanted to New England. Maya sat in her 12-year-old Civic, staring at the iron gates, wondering what kind of person lived in a house that required an intercom just to knock. The kind who could afford the specialized palliative care her agency provided, apparently. Her phone buzzed, text from her supervisor, VIP client, dying family is complicated, be professional, be invisible, do not engage with family drama. Maya deleted the message. She'd heard variations of it before every assignment. Rich families were all complicated in the same ways: money, inheritance, old wounds dressed in designer labels. She pressed the intercom button. The woman who answered the door wasn't what Maya expected. Mid-60s, hollow-cheeked but elegant, wrapped in a cashmere robe that probably cost more than Maya's monthly rent. Her ash-blonde hair was styled despite the oxygen cannula beneath her nose. Miss Chen, thank you for coming. Her voice was cultured, weakened by illness but still holding authority. I'm Maria Vitale. I'd shake your hand, but I'm told I shouldn't risk the germs. Mrs. Vitale, I'm honored to help. Maya followed her through marble corridors lined with oil paintings. My supervisor said you have stage 4 pancreatic cancer. With complications, the doctors give me 2 months, maybe 3. Maria led her into a bedroom suite larger than Maya's entire apartment. But I'm not interested in medical talk right now. Tell me about yourself. Maya fell into her practice script. 28 years old, hospice certification from Columbia, 3 years experience helping families navigate end-of-life care. No personal attachments. That part she didn't say aloud, but it was true. She'd learned young that attachments meant vulnerability. Orthopedic shoes, thrift store scrubs, black hair pulled into a practical bun. She looked exactly like furniture. Exactly like someone who'd witness your last days and then disappear. Perfect, Maria settled onto her bed with practiced care. Now, the real reason you're here. My family is going to steal everything I've built, and I need someone who knows how to be invisible to help me stop them. Maya blinked. I'm a caregiver, not a. You're a woman who understands survival. I can see it in how you stand, how you catalog exit routes, how you made yourself forgettable before saying a single word. Maria's eyes, still sharp despite the morphine haze, fixed on her. My children think I'm senile, medicated into compliance. They don't know I've been tracking every account, every withdrawal, every lie, but I need proof, and I need someone they won't notice gathering it. This isn't what I do. You help people die with dignity. Is there dignity in being robbed by your own blood? Maria's hand trembled as she reached for a folder on the nightstand. 6 months ago, my daughter Angela became my power of attorney. Since then, $200,000 has vanished from my accounts, small amounts. Utility bills forgotten, medical equipment lost, phantom home repairs. Maya's throat tightened. She'd seen elder abuse before, usually subtler, always devastating. Your son, Luca, barely speaks to me, runs the family business, legitimate operations mostly, though his grandfather built the fortune on less savory foundations. Maria's expression softened. He's cold, distant, but he's not a thief. Angela, though, she's been bleeding me dry and waiting for me to die so she can finish the job. Why not just tell him? Because he'll handle it his way: violence, intimidation, permanent solutions. Maria met Maya's eyes. I want justice, not bloodshed. I want proof so airtight that even a federal prosecutor couldn't ignore it. And then I want my daughter to face consequences that don't involve a shallow grave. Maya should have walked away, should have called her supervisor and requested reassignment. Instead, she thought of her own mother. Cancer too, no money for proper treatment, dead at 53 while her siblings argued over who'd take her jewelry. What do you need me to do? Maya asked quietly. Over the next month, Maya became a ghost with purpose. She administered morphine and documented theft, changed bedpans and photographed bank statements Maria kept hidden in a hollowed-out book, helped Maria eat, and quietly noted every time Angela visited with new excuses for missing funds. Angela Vitale was 40, beautiful in the way money makes people beautiful, and utterly convinced of her own cleverness. She'd arrive twice weekly, kiss her mother's forehead, complain about the cost of maintaining the estate, and leave with Maria's checkbook. The groundskeeper needs a new mower, she'd say, or the roof is leaking, or your medication isn't covered by insurance. All lies, Maya verified each one. The groundskeeper had a new mower 6 months old, receipt in Maria's files. The roof was pristine, the medication was fully covered. Maya compiled it all, built spreadsheets, cross-referenced dates, created a timeline that showed systematic theft going back 8 months, starting 2 weeks after Angela had gotten power of attorney. Luca never visited. Maria claimed he called weekly, their conversations brief and businesslike. He thinks I don't know what he is, she told Maya once, morphine making her confessional. What he does, but I was married to his father for 30 years. I know exactly what empire my son inherited, and I know he's trying to make it cleaner, legitimate. That's why I can't tell him about Angela. He'll solve the problem the old way. On the 6th week, Maria's condition deteriorated sharply. The cancer had spread to her liver. Pain management became Maya's primary focus. Angela's visits grew more frequent, more urgent. She'd started talking about funeral arrangements, about estate liquidation, about selling the house before winter. She's getting impatient, Maria whispered one night, her voice thin with pain. We need to move faster. The evidence is ready, Maya assured her. Everything documented. I'll take it to your lawyer tomorrow. No, Maria gripped her hand with surprising strength. Tomorrow my son comes, first visit in 3 months. I called him, told him I'm dying, told him I need to see him. What do I do? You stay invisible, let him see what's happening, and when he asks, because he will ask, you show him everything. Maya's stomach nodded. He'll think I'm the thief. Then you convince him otherwise. Maria's eyes held hers. You're good at surviving, Maya, survive this too. The next morning, Maya heard the helicopter before she saw it. It landed on the east lawn like a predator claiming territory. Through the window, she watched Luca Vitale emerge, charcoal suit, dark hair cut precisely, moving with the particular confidence of someone who'd never been told no. He was in the bedroom 30 seconds later. Maya watched him freeze at the sight of his mother. Whatever distance he'd maintained shattered against the reality of her frailty. Mama, his voice cracked on the word. Luca, come here, let me see you. Maya stepped back, making herself furniture, invisible, while mother and son spoke in low voices, Italian phrases Maya didn't understand but could feel. She pretended to check monitors. That's when Angela arrived. She swept into the room with practiced cheer, then stopped cold at the sight of her brother. Luca, what are you doing here? Visiting our dying mother, what are you doing here? His tone could have frozen water. I'm here every day. Someone has to manage things while you're busy with your business. Angela's smile was poisonous. The bills alone are overwhelming, the medical equipment, the staff, the estate maintenance. The electric bill specifically, Luca pulled out his phone. Because the power company just called, our mother's account is 3 months delinquent, they're threatening disconnection. The room went silent. Maya felt rather than saw Luca's attention shift to her. My mother's lawyer just informed me, he said, his voice blade sharp, that someone's been stealing from her accounts, small amounts, carefully hidden, and you're the only person with access to her room. Maya's hand tightened on the doorframe. Your mother asked me to. I don't care what lies she told you, you're done here. Pay her electric bill, Maya finished quietly, because your sister canceled the auto pay 3 months ago and kept the difference. The silence behind her went nuclear. Maya turned to face Luca Vitale, watching his expression shift from anger to calculation. Beside him, Angela had gone chalk white. That's absurd, Angela said quickly. Why would I? Show him, Maria interrupted, her voice weak but clear. Maya, show him everything. Maya's hands trembled as she retrieved the folder from beneath Maria's mattress. 6 weeks of documentation, bank statements, forged receipts, a spreadsheet tracking every stolen dollar. She held it out to Luca. He took it without breaking eye contact, those winter-gray eyes searching her face for deception. Then he opened the folder. The silence stretched. Angela started to speak twice, stopped both times. Maria watched her son with an expression Maya couldn't name, grief mixed with vindication mixed with love. $218,000, Luca said finally. His voice had gone flat, dead, the voice of someone deciding fates. Over 8 months, utility bills, medical equipment that was never purchased, home repairs that were never made, medication copays for prescriptions that were fully covered. I can explain, Angela began. Don't, the single word cut like a blade. Luca closed the folder, looked at Maya. You documented all of this. Your mother asked me to, she wanted proof, she said. Maya swallowed hard. She said she wanted justice, not violence. Something flickered across his face. And you believed her, a woman you'd known for 6 weeks. I believed the bank statements, I believed the pattern, I believed. She met his eyes. I believed that no one deserves to be stolen from while they're dying, especially not by family. Luca studied her for a long moment, then turned to his sister. Get out. Luca, please, I was going to pay it back. Get out, the roar filled the room. Before I forget, Mama asked for justice instead of what you actually deserve. Angela fled, the sound of her heels on marble faded. Maria let out a shaking breath. Thank you, both of you. Luca moved to his mother's bedside, his anger draining into something rawer. Mama, why didn't you tell me? Because you would have killed her in your heart if not in reality, and she's still my daughter. Maria's hand found his. This way she faces consequences, prison maybe, disgrace certainly, but not death. She deserves death. She deserves what she gets, there's a difference. Maria's eyes drifted to Maya. This woman spent 6 weeks helping me die with dignity while documenting my daughter's betrayal. She never asked for extra money, never suggested I was paranoid, just quietly built a case that could convict. Luca looked at Maya again, really looked this time. You're a hospice nurse. Caregiver, I'm not an RN, I help people navigate end-of-life care. Maya kept her voice steady. Pain management, dignity preservation, whatever they need to feel human in their last days. And elder abuse documentation. That's usually the family's job, but when the family is the abuser, she shrugged, I do what's necessary. How much did my mother pay you to do this? Nothing beyond my regular rate, this wasn't about money. Then what was it about? Maya glanced at Maria, who nodded permission. My mother died of cancer 7 years ago. She'd saved everything she had for treatment. When she died, my uncle claimed she'd promised him her savings, took it all, left me with funeral debt and nothing else. She met Luca's eyes. I couldn't stop him. I was 21 in school, no legal standing, but I swore if I ever saw someone else being robbed like that, I wouldn't stay silent. Luca absorbed this, then carefully set the folder on Maria's nightstand. I need to make some calls, legal calls, the kind that end with federal prosecution. No violence, Maria pressed. No violence, he kissed her forehead. But Angela's going to wish I'd chosen violence by the time the lawyers are done. He left. Maya heard him in the corridor, his voice sharp and businesslike as he made the first call. You did well, Maria whispered. I documented theft, that's all. You survived my son's anger, you stood your ground, you didn't beg. Maria's breathing was labored now, pain breaking through the morphine. That's not nothing. Luca respects strength, he despises weakness. Maya adjusted the morphine drip. Rest now, you've had enough excitement. One more thing, Maria's grip tightened. When I'm gone soon, I think very soon, he's going to offer you a job, something in his organization. He does that with people who impress him. I'm a caregiver. You're a woman who notices patterns, who documents evidence, who stays invisible until the exact right moment. Maria's eyes drifted closed. That's more valuable than you know, say yes. To working for the Mafia. To working for a man trying to build something better than what he inherited, there's a difference. Maria's voice faded. Say yes, Maya, you'll understand why when he asks. Over the next 3 days, Maria's condition crashed. The pain became unmanageable. Maya moved into the guest room adjacent to the master suite, waking every 2 hours to adjust medication, to whisper comfort, to hold a dying woman's hand while her body failed. Luca stayed too, sleeping in his childhood bedroom, appearing at odd hours to sit vigil beside his mother. Maya would find him there at 3 a.m. just watching Maria sleep, his expression carved from grief. They didn't speak much, but Maya felt him noticing her. The way she moved through the room without disturbing Maria, how she anticipated needs before they became urgent. The quiet competence that came from 3 years of shepherding people toward death with as much grace as possible. On the 4th morning, Maya woke to find Maria's breathing had changed. The death rattle had begun. She found Luca in the kitchen. Today, she said quietly, maybe hours, you should call whoever needs to be here. He nodded and made calls. Within an hour, the house filled with people, lawyers, a priest, business associates who spoke in low voices and watched Luca with careful deference. Angela didn't come, couldn't come. Luca had filed a restraining order as a precursor to federal charges. Maya stayed in Maria's room, monitoring vitals, administering comfort medication, being present while a woman died surrounded by luxury and abandonment in equal measure. Luca appeared around noon, sat beside his mother, took her hand. Mama, I'm here. Maria's eyes fluttered open, focused on her son. My boy, so serious, always so serious. Someone has to be. Be happy to, promise me, her breathing stuttered. Find someone who sees you, really sees you, not the empire, not the power you. I promise. Good, Maria's gaze shifted to Maya. Take care of him, he pretends he doesn't need it, but he does. Maya's throat closed, I will. Liar, Maria whispered, but a kind one. She died 20 minutes later, quiet, peaceful, her hand in her son's. Maya called the time of death, contacted the funeral home, moved through the rituals of after-death care with practiced efficiency while Luca sat frozen beside his mother's body. The house emptied, lawyers and associates offering condolences, then disappearing, the priest blessing the body, then leaving. Finally, just Maya and Luca in the vast bedroom, death between them. I should go, Maya said quietly, let you grieve privately. Stay, the word came out harsh, desperate, please, I can't be alone with this. So Maya stayed, sat across the room while Luca Vitale, Mafia boss, legitimate businessman, grieving son, broke down and wept. She didn't try to comfort him, didn't offer platitudes, just bore witness while he shattered. When he finally looked up, eyes red and swollen, he said, Angela's being arrested tomorrow, federal fraud charges, wire fraud, elder abuse. The prosecutor thinks he can get 10 years. Good. Is it? She's still my sister, still Mama's daughter. She stole from a dying woman, there's no complicated moral math here. Maya met his eyes. Your mother wanted justice, that's justice. Luca stood, moved to the window. Mama was right about you, you're good at seeing what needs to be done and doing it, no hesitation. It's my job. No, your job was pain management and dignity preservation. What you did was risk your livelihood to document a crime, that's different, he turned. I want to hire you. For what? My organization is complicated. Parts are legitimate shipping, real estate, consulting. Parts are transitional, inherited operations I'm trying to phase out or legitimize. And parts are still exactly what my grandfather built. Protection, enforcement, control. He moved closer. I need someone who can look at the whole operation and tell me where the rot is, where people are stealing, where the parasites are hiding. Someone no one will notice until it's too late. Maya's pulse quickened. I'm a caregiver. You're a pattern finder. You documented 8 months of theft in 6 weeks. You built a federal case while administering morphine. His voice softened. And you cared about my mother, not her money, not her name, her, the woman dying in that bed. You treated her like she mattered. She did matter. Most people wouldn't have noticed. They would have seen a paycheck, a rich woman in a big house who could afford to lose some money. He was close now, close enough that Maya could smell his cologne, cedar, and rain. You noticed because you couldn't not notice, because theft is theft regardless of the victim's bank balance. That's integrity, that's valuable. What you're describing isn't caregiving, it's auditing, internal investigation. It's caring about whether an organization deserves to exist, whether it's healing or hurting, whether it can be made better. His gray eyes held hers. My mother said you'd understand, do you? Maya thought about Angela, about theft dressed as family duty, about systems that protected predators because no one wanted to see the rot. Yes, she said finally, I understand. Then say yes. Maya moved into an office on the 3rd floor of Adriano Tower 6 days after Maria Vitale's funeral. Glass walls, city views, a salary that made her dizzy, and a mandate that terrified her, find the rot in Luca's empire before it killed the legitimate business he was trying to build. Her first week, she reviewed shipping manifests. Second week, protection payment logs. Third week, she sat in on contract negotiations and watched men in expensive suits lie about port fees. She documented everything, built spreadsheets, found patterns. And people started dying. Not literally, not at first, but careers ended. Longtime associates found themselves facing federal indictments based on evidence Maya had compiled. Protection rackets that had operated for 30 years got dismantled because Maya noticed the payments didn't match the services. The organization learned to fear the quiet woman in orthopedic shoes who materialized in meetings, took notes, and disappeared. Luca watched it all with something Maya couldn't name. Pride maybe, or recognition. He'd appear in her office at odd hours, espresso in hand, asking her to walk him through her latest findings. The waterfront union is skimming, she told him one night 3 months in. Rain lashed the windows, the city below glittered like broken glass. Not the leadership, mid-level organizers. They're running an insurance scam, fake workers, comp claims, real injuries, phantom employees, 600,000 over 2 years. Luca's jaw tightened, evidence. She handed him the folder, watched him read, saw the moment his anger shifted from heat to ice. This is the 3rd operation you've uncovered in as many months. Your empire has a lot of rot. My empire is trying not to be a rot factory, he set down the folder, but every time you find something I have to make choices. Federal charges mean cooperating with prosecutors. Internal punishment means becoming what I'm trying to move away from. So you're caught between justice and violence. I'm caught between what my mother wanted and what my grandfather built. He moved to the window, stared at his reflection. She asked you to document Angela's theft instead of just telling me because she knew I'd handle it the old way, fast, permanent. She wanted me to choose law over legacy. Did you? Angela's serving 8 years federal, could have been 20 if I'd pushed, could have been 0 if I'd handled it myself and buried the evidence. He turned. I chose the middle path because my mother asked, but it doesn't feel like justice, it feels like compromise. Maya rose, joined him at the window. Your mother didn't want you to be soft, she wanted you to be better, there's a difference. Better how? Better than men who think power means never facing consequences, better than systems that protect predators because confronting them is inconvenient. She held his gaze. Every operation I've exposed, you've chosen prosecution over violence, you've cooperated with federal investigations, you've let legitimate law handle illegitimate business. That's not compromise, that's transformation. It's slow. Yes, and it's real, Maya touched his arm. Fast change doesn't last, your grandfather built this empire in blood, it'll take time to wash it clean. Luca covered her hand with his, the touch sent electricity through her palm. You matter, you know that, right? Maya's breath caught, I document patterns, that's all. You see what I need to become, you see the path when I can't. His thumb traced circles on her wrist. You're not just an employee, Maya. His phone buzzed, the specific ringtone that meant emergency. Luca answered, his expression shifting from vulnerable to dangerous in seconds. When, a long pause, then his voice went deadly quiet, I'm coming. He ended the call, met Maya's eyes. That was my uncle, Salvatore, my father's brother. Maya had heard the name, the uncle who'd retired to Florida 5 years ago, the one Luca never talked about. He's at the estate, he wants to talk about my mother's will. Luca's voice was carefully neutral. Says there are irregularities that need to be addressed before probate closes. Something cold slithered down Maya's spine. What kind of irregularities? He didn't specify, just said I should bring my auditor. Luca looked at her, he means you. They drove to the estate in silence. Maya watched the city give way to manicured suburbs, then to the winding mountain road that led to the Vitale compound. The house rose against the twilight like a monument to old money and older sins. Salvatore Vitale waited in the study, mid-60s, silver hair, expensive suit. He had Luca's winter ocean eyes but none of his controlled intensity. This was a man used to being obeyed without effort. Nephew, he didn't rise, and the famous Miss Chen, the woman who destroyed my niece's life. Angela destroyed her own life, Maya said quietly. I just documented it. So clinical, so precise. Salvatore opened a folder on the desk. Maria's will left everything to Luca, the estate, the legitimate businesses, her personal accounts, very tidy. Yes, Luca said, we've been through this with the estate lawyers. But what's interesting is what happened in the 6 weeks before she died, before Miss Chen arrived. Salvatore pulled out a document. Maria made several large transfers, charitable donations, mostly cancer research, hospice programs, 5 million total. She told me about those, Luca said. She wanted her money to matter. She did, but there's one transfer that doesn't quite fit. Salvatore slid a bank statement across the desk. $2 million moved to an offshore account 3 days before Miss Chen started working here, an account that didn't exist before that week. Maya's pulse thundered in her ears. The account, Salvatore continued, is held by a shell corporation registered in the Caymans, and the registered agent for that corporation is a law firm that specializes in estate planning for healthcare workers. He smiled. Specifically, healthcare workers who document elder abuse. Luca turned to Maya, his expression was unreadable. Explain. I can't, Maya's voice sounded distant to her own ears. I don't know anything about an offshore account. But you do know about elder abuse documentation. You told me your uncle stole your mother's savings, that you swore you'd never let it happen again. Salvatore leaned forward. Did my sister-in-law pay you to document Angela's theft, or did you convince a dying woman that her daughter was stealing so you could position yourself as the hero? That's insane, but Maya's hands had started shaking. Your sister-in-law asked me to help her, she showed me the bank statements, she wanted proof. Or you showed her carefully selected statements that made Angela look guilty. You had access to Maria's accounts. You administered her medication. You could have made her paranoid, confused, susceptible to suggestion. Salvatore's voice was reasonable, kind, almost. $2 million is a lot of money for a woman making $40,000 a year as a caregiver. I didn't take any money, Maya looked at Luca. You know I didn't, you saw the evidence. Angela was stealing, the bank statements, the forged signatures, the time. Can all be fabricated by someone with access and motivation. Salvatore stood, Here's what I think happened. You researched Maria before taking the job, found out she was wealthy, dying, vulnerable. You saw an opportunity, so you created a narrative, the evil daughter stealing from the saintly mother. You documented evidence. You positioned yourself as the only person Maria could trust, and in her last weeks, confused and in pain, she rewarded you $2 million for your loyalty. Luca, Maya's voice cracked. You can't believe this. Angela was stealing. I showed you the proof. Your mother asked. My mother was dying. Luca's voice was flat, empty. She was on morphine. She was scared and in pain. You were with her every day, every night. How hard would it have been to convince her that Angela was the enemy and you were the solution? Maya felt the ground disappearing beneath her feet. I didn't manipulate your mother. I cared about her. I helped her die with dignity. You helped yourself to $2 million. I didn't know about any offshore account. Then you won't mind if we audit your finances. Salvatore pushed a document across the desk. Sign this. It authorizes a full financial investigation, bank records, tax returns, everything. If you're innocent, you have nothing to hide. Maya stared at the paper, at the man who'd held her while she shook with adrenaline after saving a child's life, at the winter ocean eyes that had looked at her like she was someone who mattered. You're really going to do this, she whispered. You're going to believe I'm a thief. I believe in evidence, Luca said. You taught me that. Document everything, build the case, follow the pattern. He picked up a pen, held it out. So let's see what the evidence says. Maya looked at the pen, at the man offering it, at the trap closing around her. Then she laughed. It came out harsh and broken, but it was genuine. No. Salvatore blinked. I'm sorry. No, I'm not signing your authorization. I'm not letting you audit my finances, because this isn't about evidence. This is about control. Maya turned to Luca. Your uncle doesn't care if I took money. He cares that you're changing the empire, that you're cooperating with federal prosecutors, that you're phasing out the old operations and building something legitimate. He wants you to doubt me because I'm the one helping you transform. That's paranoid, Salvatore said smoothly. Is it? Let me find the pattern. Maya pulled out her phone, started typing. Salvatore Vitale retired 5 years ago after Luca took over, moved to Florida, supposedly left the business entirely. She looked up. But you still have connections, still have loyal people in the organization, and 3 of the operations I've exposed in the last 6 months, the Port Authority scam, the protection racket, the union fraud, all of them were run by men who worked for you before you retired. Luca's expression shifted, sharpened. You're not concerned about Maria's will, Maya continued. You're concerned that I'm destroying your legacy, the empire you built with Luca's grandfather, the operations you set up to run forever. She stepped closer to Salvatore. So you manufactured a crisis, created an offshore account in my name, fake transfer documents, and waited for the right moment to make me look like exactly what Angela actually was, a thief who manipulated a dying woman. Prove it, Salvatore said coldly. I can't, not yet, but Luca can. Maya turned to face the man she'd spent 6 months helping transform, the man who'd watched her climb stairs toward an armed hostage-taker because she saw the pattern no one else did. You hired me to find rot. I found it. It's sitting in your study pretending to care about your mother's estate. Question is whether you're going to believe the evidence I've built over 6 months or the performance he's staging right now. The silence stretched. Rain began pattering against the windows. Luca looked at his uncle, then at Maya, then at the bank statement on the desk. Get out, he said quietly. Maya's heart stopped. Luca, Salvatore began. Not her, you. Luca's voice dropped to a register Maya had only heard once before when Angela fled his mother's bedroom. Get out of this house, get out of this city, get out of my organization. Because if you're still in my sight in 60 seconds, I'm going to forget every lesson my mother tried to teach me about justice versus violence. Salvatore's face went purple. You're choosing this nobody over family. I'm choosing the woman who spent 6 weeks caring for my dying mother over the uncle who waited until she was dead to manufacture a crisis. Luca moved between Maya and Salvatore. 50 seconds. You'll regret this when you find out she really did steal. 40 seconds, and I'm having my actual auditor, the one I hire for financial investigations, not pattern analysis, go through every operation you ever ran, every account you ever touched, every dollar you moved in 30 years. If Maya's right and you've been skimming, we'll find it, and when we do, you won't be retiring in Florida. You'll be sharing a cell block with Angela. Luca smiled. 30 seconds. Salvatore left. The door slammed hard enough to rattle the windows. Maya's legs gave out. She sank into the nearest chair. Luca knelt in front of her, took her shaking hands. I'm sorry, I needed to see what he'd do if he thought I believed him, how far he'd push, whether he'd confess or commit. You believed me. I believed the woman who documented 8 months of theft in 6 weeks wouldn't be stupid enough to create an obvious paper trail if she was actually stealing. He touched her face. I believed the woman who talked down a hostage-taker would see through a framed job. And I believe that my uncle has been angry about my reforms for 5 years and finally found a way to strike back. What if you're wrong? What if there really is an offshore account in my name? Then we'll find out who put it there and make them regret it. Luca pulled her to her feet. But I don't think I'm wrong because you're right about the pattern. 3 operations, all connected to Salvatore, all exposed by you, all dismantled in the last 6 months. That's not coincidence, that's motive. Maya leaned into him, let herself be held by the most dangerous man she'd ever met, the one who'd just chosen to trust her over blood. Your mother said you'd offer me a job, she whispered. She said I should say yes because you were trying to build something better. I didn't realize the job would include getting framed for theft. It's in the fine print, Luca kissed her forehead, right below occasional hostage negotiations and helping your boss become human. I'm a terrible employee. You're the best thing that's happened to this empire in 3 generations. He pulled back enough to meet her eyes. And when we prove Salvatore set you up, when we find every dollar he's stolen over 30 years, I'm giving you a raise and a new title, Chief Ethics Officer, because apparently I need someone whose only job is making sure I don't become what I'm trying to leave behind. Maya thought about invisibility, about survival, about spending her whole life staying unnoticed and unharmed, about a dying woman who'd seen her anyway and trusted her with the truth. Your mother told me to say yes when you offered me a job, she said quietly. She was right, so I'm saying yes again to the raise, to the title, to staying beside you while you wash blood off an empire. She touched his face, to being seen by you. Luca kissed her then, not gently, not carefully, like she was proof that transformation was possible, that invisible women could become undeniable, that mafia bosses could learn to trust the quiet caregiver who saw patterns no one else did. Outside, rain turned the windows into rivers. Inside, the woman who'd been overlooked her entire life stood in the study of a dying empire and felt its future shift in her hands. The caregiver had documented theft, saved a life, survived a framed job, and become the most valuable person in the room, not because a powerful man claimed her, but because she'd proven she couldn't be bought, broken, or erased. Maya Chen was done being invisible, and the empire would learn to reckon with that.